Fandos, it's me, James. I really hope that you like being called a Fandos because I am legally obligated to call you that or they'll come find me, and let me tell you, I really can't afford to lose another kidney. As you can see, I'm in Mangled Maw headquarters, which I like to call the closet. And today I kind of want to go over some of the cut content from the game because I think it's kind of interesting to look at what almost made it into the game, and what better time now than after the game's launched. From the very beginning of development, we knew that we wanted to fully use the interaction of watching tapes on a VHS to its limit. You know, we had the pause button. That was something that was pitched very early on. That was something that we knew we wanted. But alongside the pause button, we had a rewind button. The rewind button would function exactly how it sounds. The player would unlock the button, much like how they unlock the pause button. They'd put it into the VHS, and then they would be able to rewind the tape. And what you'd be able to do with that is we toyed around with a couple ideas where it's like, oh, what if Amanda said something backwards, and in order to decipher it, you need to rewind the tape to hear it. We played around with some functionality with it too. There was an idea floating around of different states in the attic being triggered based on what time it was in the VHS. So like you could rewind something in the VHS, something would pop up in the attic, you'd pause, you'd go interact with that thing, you go back, and the tape would be different because you did something in the attic. And that sounded cool on paper, but that was sort of the end of the rewinding. We really struggled to find things that really worked with it. And on top of that, we just kept running into questions about how, like, logistically it would work with our tape system. You know, what would happen if you rewind past a part where you've already answered Amanda before? Would it let you? We kept running into these questions, and we couldn't find any interesting engagements with the rewind button, and we just eventually decided, okay, this was a cool idea, but it really wasn't, we weren't really getting any mileage off of it. If anything, it was making it more difficult to design puzzles around, so we ended up scrapping it and just keeping the pause button, since we already knew what we wanted to do with the pause button. However, some of the implementation for the rewind button did end up staying. As I mentioned, we had an idea where you'd use a rewind button to go to a specific state in the tape and then interact with something in the attic, and the see and say ended up being that. So, you know, it didn't necessarily get cut completely, but just repurposed. Blabbot was almost something entirely different. He almost was a walkie-talkie. So the way the walkie-talkie would work is it was very similar to Blabbot, where you would give it an input, it would deal out an output in the form of a voice line or something that it would say to you directly, but with the added bonus of tuning into a specific frequency. So not only would you have to find the specific channel that you'd have to tune into with the walkie-talkie, but then you would have to find the specific spot in the tape to press the button on the walkie-talkie to hear the prompt. So me saying that out loud doesn't sound great, does it? No, doesn't really. It didn't really sound like it was fun to deal with. It just felt like there was too many steps. And it was also going to be something that the player could pick up and walk around with, so there was the risk of putting it somewhere and not knowing where it went. It just didn't really mesh well with the flow of the puzzles that we were working with. It didn't really fit the design requirements that we needed. So I was talking with Michael, and Michael suggested, what about one of those toys where you type in like a code, and it will say something to you based on like what you typed in. And I looked it up, and they exist, but you know, you can't just call it this toy that actually exists. So we came up with Blabbot. There's part of me that wishes we kind of used him a little bit more, but he was basically the solution to our problem. So let's address the elephant in the room that I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. Where is the Cipher that was on the fridge on the Steam demo? And if you went to PAX, at the PAX demo, it's a long story. So the Cipher was going to be a big part of the puzzle design in the game. And when I mean big, I mean a lot of things were going to be using the Cipher, either in the attic or in the tapes. You know, I made this like Pigpen-esque Cipher. We wanted to tease it with the demo, and you know, there was a key to it that you would get in the second playthrough in the safe. That ended up changing to the plant Cipher, and turns out you guys didn't need the key at all because a lot of you are already solving the Cipher without the key. So, well done. But this was a change that came pretty late in development. It wasn't something that we deliberated on. It was actually way past our content lock for the game. If you didn't know, the game is localized in 13 different languages, and this was something that we decided that we wanted to do because we knew that we had a big international fan base, and we wanted to make sure language barriers weren't preventing anybody from playing our game. But that's awfully tricky when you make a cipher that is one-to-one translated to English, which was the cipher. But James, why didn't you just localize the cipher, you might be saying? Well, let me tell you. For the cipher to be localized, we first have to take the key, which is a crossword puzzle, and make 13 different variants of that crossword puzzle that would include all of the potential characters that language would use. And then we would have to look at every single object in the attic that uses the cipher and then localize that 13 times. And then we would have to look through every single clip in the game that has a ciphertext in it, and then we would have to localize that 13 times. Needless to say, it really wasn't reasonable for us to do at the moment. So I took inventory at everything that was using the cipher. I took a look at what would be affected, and despite it being a heavy part of the game, it was easy to swap out with just symbol-based rather than like character-based. Like I said, the plant guide that you get in the safe used to be the other half of the crossword, so that was an easy swap out, including the fridge message, which we changed to an oven on fire. This was a particularly hard thing to cut for me, because this was something that I worked on and I was pretty proud of, and it was an integral part of the game. And it was also my call to get rid of it because I realized how much problems it was causing, and it was an easy fix to design around. So it just didn't make sense to keep into the game if it meant that it would just create language barriers for people. Oh, but don't you worry, we still have that cipher key, and we definitely intend to put it to good use. And that just about does it. I mean, there's a couple of things here and there that got tweaked, some puzzles that changed throughout development, but nothing too major. If that's something that you'd like to hear me talk about, I would love to make that video for you guys. But before I go, I just want to take an opportunity one more time to thank everybody so much for their support and love for this game. I'm still in awe that so many people love this creepy little game that we made. So thank you so much for tuning into this dev diary. I know it was a little bit of a mess and a little freeform, but I just wanted to give you guys something to send you guys out on, and yeah, I just thank you so much for playing the game. I hope you enjoy it, and if you haven't played it yet, go check us out on Steam, Man of the Adventurer, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye! So, why am I blanking on this? As you may know, I look like your dad. I'm proud of you. Wooly's your dad. I'm your dad. I'm so proud of you. That's bad.